All right, so this chapter 5 is all about just solving equations. So you've done this before, so there'll be some one step, there'll be some two step, there'll be multi-step. So you got to be ready for anything that comes your way. So like if we have just this basic two-step problem here, you have to get rid of the subtracting 4. So undo subtracting by adding 4 to both sides. Okay, after that, you're left with 6x equals that negative 30. And to undo that, I have to divide by that 6. So x would be negative 5. So just remember, you have to do the inverse operations and you got to keep it even. So whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So that's a basic two-step problem. Sometimes when we get to fractions, we get a little more nervous. My suggestion is always cover up the letter and get that alone. So how do I get rid of that positive 7? I need to subtract 7. Again, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So I have z over 2 equals negative 20. Okay, so now you got to say, how do I undo that dividing by 2? Well, I need to multiply by 2. So z is negative 40. Okay. Again, you'll see different. So there's difference between this type of fraction and this type of fraction. What you'll see is that t is just getting divided by 8 here, not the 9, where this, the entire thing is being divided by the number underneath. So there's a couple ways to set these up. Personally, what I do is I can't cover the c completely. So what I do is I get rid of that dividing by 5 first. So undo dividing by 5 by multiplying by negative 5. So I have c plus 40 equals 35. And then it's just a basic problem. How do I get rid of the plus 40 and minus the 40? Now, if I was approaching that differently, you could write this as a 2 fractions. To me, it's more work that way. You could put c over negative 5 plus 40 over negative 5 equals that negative 7. Well, then this actually works out nicely. But if the fraction doesn't work out nicely, then that gets to be a harder problem. And if you work that out, it would end up still being the same answer. So you can choose how to do that. Personally, I would do it this first way, because then you can get rid of your fractions right away. Sometimes you're going to see them on opposite sides. So we have to move things. So I need all of my x's on one side, all of my numbers on the other. So if I want to move all of my x's to this side, how do I get rid of the positive 2x? I need to subtract it. Okay, so that's now gone on that side. So I still have negative 27 minus 9x equals 18. I still want x's on one side, numbers on the other. So I got to add that 27 over. So I have negative 9x equals whatever 18 plus 27 is, 45. Divide by that negative 9. X is negative 5. Okay, so sometimes you're going to see it like that. Sometimes you're going to see variables on the same side before you are moving it around. Let's try to find those. So you have to add the like terms first. So I see that 3w minus 2w, that's right next to each other. 3 minus 2 is 1w. Still have plus 4 equals 6. Then I want to get that w by itself. So I'm going to subtract that 4. So w equals 2. Okay. Different ways to do the problems. And then they might even throw some parentheses in there. So you have to distribute first before you can start solving. So if you were distributing, remember you have to distribute through the entire thing. So you're going to have a negative 7x minus 14. And sometimes those will be equal to something and sometimes they won't have an equal. So this is an expression because it doesn't have an equal sign. It's an equation when it has an equal sign and you can solve it. So that's, I'm only going to do half of chapter 5, but I'm going to assign your IXL to this. And then instead of a chapter 5 test like you've been doing lately, I'll do a couple different quizzes for your chapter test.